The Fiend Bray Wyatt is one of the geniuses in wrestling. His contributions may not be huge, but he's a pretty smart guy who has reinvented himself many times over his career. While fans have always taken a keen interest in him, WWE on the other hand never seemed to really know what to do with Bray Wyatt. They had him feud with some of the top dogs in wrestling, such as John Cena, The Undertaker, and more, and even had him lift the World Championship several times over the years. But despite these huge accomplishments in WWE, The Fiend has not really been that lucky in terms of booking. Wyatt's WWE Championship victory at Elimination Chamber 2017 was a great moment for wrestling fans. On SmackDown following the pay-per-view, Wyatt defended his WWE title against John Cena and AJ Styles, and, even after a pre-match attack by Luke Harper, Bray ended up winning the match. It was clear that Randy Orton would turn on him soon, but the Viper refused to face the Wyatt's family leader at the grandest stage of them all for the WWE Championship, which obviously turned out to be a ruse.
And I am the servant. I refuse to face you at WrestleMania.
So what happened next? One successful title defense and then Wyatt ended up losing his prestigious belt and became the worst WWE champion of the 2010s. His reign could have been bigger than it was. Sure, Wyatt wasn't a great wrestler, but he had a great gimmick and mic skills to make up for it. His feud with Randy Orton was terrible, and while it had its moment, some really good, the overall competition was nothing but a terrible affair. Even their WrestleMania 33 match received poor ratings from wrestling fans. The Fiend should never have become a champion. For the next few years, Wyatt remained in the mid-card scene, and never got a moment to shine properly again until 2019, when he introduced The Fiend to the WWE Universe. By the time he made his debut, Wyatt had already won over so many fans, that he became the hottest thing in wrestling for a while. His gimmick, while being a little too much for some fans' taste, got everyone talking about him. The former cult leader of the Wyatt family now had a split personality. One moment he was super scary, the other he got real goofy as the host of the Firefly Funhouse. Soon after his return, WWE booked The Fiend vs Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell. Wyatt had already shown he is not afraid of pain, but that, he finds pleasure in it. The pay-per-view happened, and, in the main event, Rollins tore apart The Fiend with every weapon he could get his hands on. Nobody knew what WWE was thinking because they made The Fiend so overpowered in that match that it destroyed Seth's momentum. The match ended due to referee stoppage, and it became one of the worst PPV main events from the past decade. No one really blamed The Fiend for this because it was all WWE's fault, right? Weeks later at Crown Jewel, Wyatt finally defeated Rollins to win his first ever Universal Championship in WWE. It was the start of something new for Wyatt, but even this reign wasn't good. The last time Wyatt was booked weak against Randy Orton, and ended up losing his title easily to him. But this time, WWE didn't do that, and in the process, they ended up developing a whole lot of other problems. It was good that The Fiend was nearly unstoppable in the ring, but the problem was that every feuds against him meant the death of someone's character quite literally. In fact, as many wrestlers even ended up changing their gimmick after feuding with him. At this point, some had started to doubt The Fiend as WWE's world champion. The question was who would end his rule of drama. The answer: Goldberg. The 54-year-old returned for his Saudi Arabia payday in 2020, and ended Wyatt's Universal Championship reign. What the likes of Rollins, Daniel Bryan, and The Miz could not do, the WCW megastar did it. But it was probably a good decision to take the title off Fiend's shoulders. His reign was super messed up as it was pretty hard to defeat someone who possesses supernatural abilities. And those character changes probably were not coincidence as well. Those superstars really needed some change in their character after losing to a former unbeatable superstar. The Fiend's Universal Championship reigns were forgettable. The loss to Goldberg had surely hurt The Fiend's momentum, but WWE saved his character by getting John Cena to job to him at WrestleMania 36. But then again, they ended up having him defeat Braun Strowman, and ending his Universal Championship reign prematurely. If that wasn't enough, Roman Reigns returned and stole the title from Wyatt a week later at Payback. All of this was confusing for many fans, and those who watched it live on television know that Wyatt never really did anything significant during any of his reigns. He only chased the title, and WWE made sure to hype him up every time, but after winning the belt, the company seems to move on from him. The Fiend had 3 runs with the World Championships, and all 3 of the times WWE messed up. Instead of creating balance, WWE either gave him too much ability, or too less, and both times, it hurt his character. The Fiend is great, but keep him away from top belts. The Fiend's booking shows that while it's a great character, it's very limited in many ways. First off, Wyatt should never lift another world title ever as long as he's the Fiend in WWE, because that just wouldn't work for many different reasons. He can lose the title, but it wouldn't be an easy task to take it off from him. And also, his character doesn't need a major belt to stay relevant because the Fiend can thrive on its own. The company probably doesn't understand that the Fiend character works best as an attraction. Unless WWE figure out a way that lets him have good title reigns, Wyatt doesn't need to be ever near any title scene. The Fiend has not been seen on WWE television since the WrestleMania 37 event, in April 2021, and there is reportedly no word on when we can expect to see the Fiend Bray Wyatt on WWE TV next. According to a new report from PWInsider, there is no timetable from within WWE for Wyatt's return to the company, as of right now at least. The report goes on to say that WWE sources have remained quiet about why Wyatt hasn't been on television as of late, but PWInsider notes that some people within WWE think that Wyatt's absence is not down to a creative issue. For those who have asked about Bray Wyatt, who has not performed since WrestleMania 36, PWInsider is told there is still no timetable for his return to active duty for the company. WWE sources have remained quiet about Wyatt's circumstances beyond the idea that he's being held off for a specific reason. The belief among some is that it's not a creative issue. Bray Wyatt advertised locally for the August 9th episode of Monday Night Raw at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, but as always, the card is subject to change. As noted, specific details about Bray Wyatt's absence from TV right now aren't particularly clear, so make sure you stay tuned to my YouTube channel for any potential updates on the matter. Bray Wyatt was last seen on WWE TV at the WrestleMania 37 event in April. At the show, Wyatt was defeated by Randy Orton, but PWInsider notes that the original plans for the show had Bray going over. With the exception of WrestleMania, where he lost to Randy Orton, Wyatt has not performed in the ring since the pre-taped December 2020 Firefly Inferno bout. PWInsider is told the initial plan at WrestleMania was for Wyatt to win, but it was changed that weekend to Orton going over.
Oh, let me up with a bright smile on now. Put me in the dark, so won't get lost now. To the moonlight,